My name is Alysha Kerr. I am 19 years old and I go to Biola. It's my second year and I work here in the youth ministry with sixth grade girls. I've heard about other mission trip opportunities and I've been invited to participate in other people's trips, but this one really stuck out to me, and I don't know if it's just because I've wanted to go to Germany or because I can speak German or what, but there's something about this that I just thought was so inviting. But where I really saw God come through was through support. One of my family members who didn't even, I didn't send her a support letter to her. She heard about my trip and she offered to pay for the rest of it. Which was a little over $1,000, so she just offered to pay for the rest of it, and that was truly, truly amazing, and I don't know, just, that was definitely seeing God's provision in that, and that this was something that I really felt like He wanted me to do. What we did was we helped the German kids practice their English. Most of them spoke English pretty well, but they don't get to practice over the summer. So every year, a man named Alan has this camp, and and so he's from here, and he just helps all the German kids practice their English. And because it's a Christian camp, you'd have a Bible study in the morning. We'd get a lesson, and we would, in our groups, be able to just go over the lesson with the kids and read the Bible with them. And so we'd have a class of, I think, maybe 10 kids, and these kids were about, I think, the youngest was 13 to 16. Then later in the day we would have an English class. And in English class you had different things you could go over, like idioms and going over past tense and different things in English. It's kind of a Hume Lake to a lot of these kids. So they had the lake that they would go to every day because the cabin that we stayed in was right on the lake. So they'd go out to the lake every day, and so most of our time that was spent not in class but just hanging out with them. The camp was in a city called Guben, and we went to a city called Königs Wusterhausen, which is a really long name, but we went back there, and we went to a church there, and we just had a Bible study. We had basically a youth group there, and it was a really cool experience. And so that was basically our role, just building relationships and helping them in their relationship with God. But the meals is where I got to experience a lot of the culture. So lunchtime in Germany is the biggest meal of the day. For breakfast and dinner both, you just have bread traditionally, but lunchtime we would have a soup or a pasta and combination with bread, of course. And so that's what we did a lot. That's what we had for lunch. And I guess in American standards it wouldn't be a very big lunch, but over there it's bigger than what their breakfast or dinner would be. Probably the grossest thing I ate is called Knudeln. It's dumplings, but there's nothing inside of it, so it's just dough. It's just this yellow dough, and it has the strangest texture. It's kind of like eating boba by itself, but just one big giant ball of boba by itself. It's really gross. And I felt really bad because so many days I would accidentally put it on my plate and then forget that I didn't like it and waste a lot of it. Yeah, and also just something that I thought was astonishing while I was there. Not only do they get up really early, most of the kids get up really early and read their Bibles, but they also have this amazing sense of community. And it was just it was just really amazing how much you could tell how much they loved each other and how they were so welcoming to us. There was never a feeling that we didn't belong in that group, or that they didn't want us there, but they welcomed us with open arms because we have Christ in common. One guy stands out in particular as a key person that I definitely remember and I talk to almost daily. His name is Andy, and he a little over a year ago, a year to the day that he was at camp, he became a Christian. So he's been a Christian for a little bit over a year now. And the first time he'd actually encountered anybody from this camp, he came with a bunch of friends because he was Jehovah's Witness, and he came with a bunch of friends to witness to the people at this Christian camp. And and so it was just really interesting that now this man, he was older, he was I think 39, but they let him still stay at the camp and be a student there. And he just has an amazing testimony of God really grabbing a hold of him, and I have never talked to anybody more passionate about their faith. Every day when I talk to him, he cannot not say anything about God. Like, everything he says is always going back to God and prayer and staying in prayer. Another person that comes to mind when I think back is my friend Tabea. She was one of the students. I think she was 14. I looked over and I noticed that she was really sad, and she looked like she was trying really hard not to cry. And so I went over there and I said to Bea, "Do you want to talk about it?" And she pulled me over to a chair and just broke down and just cried, and just poured her heart out, everything that had been going on. And I was trying not to smile because this was the moment that God wanted me to wait for, and it was a gift, that time that I got to talk to her, and I got to pray for her, and a lot of what she was telling me, I didn't know how to deal with it. I didn't know exactly how to help her, but somehow God led me to the topic of his love for her. And so I just began talking about God's love for her and how much he loves her. And about halfway down in her, what she wrote, "Thank you so much for showing your love to me, and I don't even know why." And I was just blown away by that through that small action of me just listening to her and praying for her, she saw just a glimpse of God's love through that, and I was just rejoicing that God used me in that, and it was really a huge lesson in not only waiting on God and being patient, but to also whatever we're given, to give back to God. And it's not something I'm very good at, but every once in a while I get it, and what he gave me in that moment was time. And just time to talk to her, and the right time where we weren't interrupted, we weren't having to go to any classes or anything, where it was just me and her just talking. I definitely hope to go back to Germany sooner rather than later, but just working on leaning on God in that, and not just what I want to do, but what God wants me to do. And I would love for more people to be able to have that same experience and be able to go over there as well, to build connections and to see that our Christian body is so huge. Thank you so much for all of the prayer and the people who continue to ask questions about it. I appreciated that so much. And danke sehr schön und tschüss, which means thank you very much and goodbye.